Members of the Cabinet, Mr. Naguib Sawiris, fellow trustees, President Richard Doney, AUC alumni, friends of AUC and Egypt, thank you and welcome to Ewart Hall at the Tahrir Cultural Center and the official beginning of our celebration of AUC's Centennial. It's a great honor to be able to speak to you today in Ewart Hall. My own childhood is filled with memories of speeches, movies, and plays here. I always started the evening excited, but as a 6-year-old, I often ended up asleep. I hope my comments don't induce the same drowsiness in all of you. As you know, for this entire year, AUC will be hosting all kinds of events that explain, highlight, and celebrate the university's illustrious history. As I was reviewing them, I noticed that a campus committee wisely recommended that by the start of the Centennial this month, the campus should be completely smoke-free. You may wonder why I highlight this policy on this momentous occasion, other than to demonstrate AUC's commitment to the health of its community. What some of you may not know is that the land on which we sit today is the site of an old cigarette factory. And our palace next door served as its headquarters. Was our campus committee aware of that legacy when it decided to make a smoke-free campus? I guess the point of this story really shows that even in a time when we're all steeped in AUC history, there may be a few facts about our past that are best ignored. But at least it was a beautiful cigarette factory, and its beauty seems to have inspired intellectual life, because AUC was actually not the first university born here. When Nestor Janocles, the cigarette merchant, closed his factory here, he first leased the property to the Egyptian University. This is the school that became King Farouk University and eventually Cairo University across the Nile. Our founder, Charles Watson, became aware of the property when actually President Teddy Roosevelt gave a speech from here that was widely reported. Mr. Watson was failing in his attempt to buy a suburban site for AUC by the pyramids and soon decided to try to purchase where we sit today. AUC had little money, and Janocles refused to accept the price that AUC could afford to pay. But in the spring of 1919, the British helped us out by arresting Egypt's revolutionary leader, Saad Zaghloul. Demonstrations broke out across the country, causing land values to plummet, and in late 1919, AUC was able to buy the property. We couldn't take possession of it until the Egyptian University found a new home, which didn't happen until after summer exams were over. With only a few weeks before its planned opening in 1920, AUC scrambled frantically to refurbish the facilities before opening day. Naguib, does that sound familiar? When the doors finally opened for the first day of school, the principal wrote, "While not everything is absolutely perfect, still we are remarkably well prepared. The colors are subdued, but the lights make it, I believe, the most beautiful place in Cairo." Today, we once again open our doors to a newly refurbished version of these historic buildings to reinvigorate our contribution to cultural life. The Tahrir Cultural Center is a fitting reaffirmation of AUC's ambitions 100 years ago. From its founding, AUC wanted desperately to contribute to the cultural life of Egypt. When an anonymous woman visited the university in 1925 and offered to help, Charles Watson told her he wanted to build a large auditorium for lectures and performances. Literally within a few hours, she agreed to give $80,000 to build such a space, naming it after her grandfather, William Dana Ewart. And what a gift to Egypt it has been. The list of events and speakers that AUC has hosted here is as eclectic as any you can imagine. And the Tahrir Cultural Center guarantees that this legacy will continue. Toscanini directed the Palestinian Symphony Orchestra here. Doria Shafiq began her march here. Kulthum catapulted her career here. Speakers have included world heavyweight boxing champion Gene Tunney, Arab-American professor Edward Said, US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Taha Hussein, Jimmy Carter, and AUC trustee and Nobel laureate Ahmed Zewail, and on and on and on. None of us here today would agree with all that has been performed or spoken here, but AUC is stronger and Egypt is better because all these voices have been heard. AUC now has a spectacular suburban campus of the sort that Charles Watson dreamed of, but thanks to the generosity of Mr. Sawiris, interesting voices, thrilling performances, and creative works of art will still be seen and heard in this historic space. AUC and Egypt will, as always, be enriched. Throughout this year, as we reflect about our past, we should focus on what it is about AUC that has allowed it to endure. Formed at the end of one World War, AUC has navigated through several revolutions, another world war, nationalizations, economic depressions, bread riots, and currency devaluations. In the face of that turmoil, it has persevered, indeed flourished, and will continue to flourish for one primary reason: the fundamental appeal of its central mission. A private, not-for-profit liberal arts university completely dedicated to education in Egypt. An institution committed to educating the whole person, ethically, intellectually, and physically. An institution that recognizes the importance of cultural life and that is committed to critical thinking, open debate, and curiosity. A university open to a diverse range of intellectual thought. These are compelling ideas. They appeal across disciplines, genders, generations, nationalities, religions, ideologies. At every critical stage in AUC's history, people, Egyptians, Americans, Arabs, have recognized that AUC is a positive force for Egypt and the world. They have supported it with their treasure, encouraged it in their protocols, spared it from nationalizations, and defended it from revolutionary turmoil. AUC has flourished because its mission responds to society's needs. As a child in the 60s, and actually that's when Adli Bashai and Doris Shukri were leading the faculty, and Aziza and Jahan were stellar students, I remember coming to this hall and struggling to read the words of Tennyson that crown the stage. Let knowledge grow from more to more, but more of reverence in us dwell. The first time I read them, I asked my older brother what reverence meant. He wasn't sure, but he said it was clearly a good thing. Knowledge of AUC history inspires reverence for its mission. Let us remain true to that mission, and our next century will take care of itself. Milad Saeed, happy birthday, AUC.